Welcome back, and let's not waste any time today because we need to talk about Eli Roth's 2026 theatrical nightmare, Ice Cream Man. And consider this your strict one and only spoiler warning. So if you haven't seen it yet, go ahead and get out of here right now. So if you're still here, good. First, let's clear the air for the purists. This is not a remake of the 1995 campy cult classic with Clint Howard, Ice Cream Man, but that original movie is supposedly getting its own legacy sequel sometime in the future, so we'll look for that whenever that comes, but I doubt it ever drops. This version of the Ice Cream Man is totally unrelated and it is a completely unhinged re-imaging. So I went into this film expecting Eli Roth to make his glorious comeback to the blood-soaked, pure splatter grindhouse horror. And he completely tossed away the mainstream safety net of Thanksgiving to give us an insane premise. And that is hopped up children systematically slaughtering the entire adult population of a hyper-saturated 1950s looking suburb. I don't think the expectations for this film were massive by any means, but I did think when people saw the trailers and the hype for this film, we got pretty excited for it and we were expecting something that is at least pretty damn good. But in my opinion, what I got at least was a absolute digital dumpster fire. Eli Roth decided to cut corners by blatantly shoving AI-generated imagery right in the middle of the film. And honestly, that's pretty infuriating because I'm not even sure why, because this film didn't really need it. To do it is almost like a slap in the face to your audience. This movie thinks it's pushing boundaries and breaking rules, but honestly, you shouldn't have to pay for this. This movie would have been a really good Tubi movie, and the fact that it was released in theaters really tested my patience. So quick question for you guys before we dive deeper into this insane little review. Did the AI controversy kind of kill your motivation to go check this film out beforehand, or were you just there for the blood and guts and all the splatter? Let me know down in the comments. When you look at the vibe and the pacing of Ice Cream Man, it starts to feel like less of a cohesive cinematic experience and more like a chaotic endurance test. But to say that about a movie that is only about an hour and 20 minutes long is pretty crazy, but we spent about 45 minutes, if not longer, in absolute pure chaos. The film does open kind of slow at the baseball game and we see the kids. The Ice Cream Man eventually strolls up in his truck, but blinking you'll miss it. By nighttime, he returns, and then the kids start murdering their parents. And then the next day at school, everything just unfolds into this big killing spree when the kids are killing every single adult in sight and just setting everything on fire and just running them up. Roth does try to explore this deep nihilistic theme of generational weaponization where childhood innocence is stripped away. But in my opinion, the kids here are just collateral damage. They're just turned into these murderous zombies just going around having fun, I guess, murdering every single adult in sight, even the people who are obviously married into this town, because not every single person in this town is from here, and they're not tied to the original crime or punishment that everybody is getting killed for. For half an hour, we are forced to watch these glassy-eyed kids murder their teachers with jump ropes and baseball bats, culminating in this sequence where they are literally playing jump rope with an exposed intestine. The film is very gory, and I can definitely appreciate that. But if you're looking for a scare, even a jump scare, it's not going to be there. But when you really sit back and look at it, I'm not even sure they were really going for the jump scare. I really think they were just having fun and really leaning into the horror comedy. And the reason I say that is because at times in this movie, it was pretty humorous, but in a sick way. But by minute 20 of relentless carnage, the novelty wears off completely. It stops being a clever homage to old school sadism and just becomes this mean-spirited gore fest. So seriously, I want to know you guys' limit. At what point does fun, mindless gore turn into, okay, let's wrap it up, I'm bored? When does it turn to that for you? Sound off below. Then we have to suffer through these performances and this script that honestly feel like it was written on a dare. Now, let's do give credit where it's due. Ari Millen's completely silent performance as the Ice Cream Man is genuinely unsettling. You know, watching a guy just do all this creepy shit throughout a movie and with a big grin on his face, when you really think about it, it is a little bit, unsettling. May even give you goosebumps because it's a little, I don't know, it's just a little weird. He moves with this rigid marionette-like posture, flashing this smile that just goes all the way up his face, sort of like the Joker, but even more so, it almost like his face is going to tear if his grin goes up any higher. But for me, that is where the praise comes to a stop. Because we are stuck following our main kids, Jared, his sister Lizzie, her boyfriend Chris, and a couple of other kids, and I honestly can't even think of their names right now. But our last beacon of hope in this apocalyptic nightmare is Jared, who only survived the initial mind control wave of eating the ice cream because he's lactose intolerant and he couldn't eat the ice cream without getting sick. And one of my biggest problems with these characters is the fact that they don't even really do any protagonistic things. Their whole purpose in this entire movie is solely to be chased and try to survive. And look, I need to take a second here because the dialogue of these child actors, like, who wrote this? Why are preteens speaking in this bizarre, expletive-filled, outdated adolescent banter that is mixed with this painfully forced modern-day slang? So here's my challenge for you all right now. Jump into the comments and try to defend this script. Give me your best argument for why Jared and his bully-turned-ally friend have good dialogue, and I'll sit right here and wait for you because I don't think you can do it. Now, if you somehow survived all of the chaos and the dialogue mess and made it to the end, the climax does deliver a twist that is genuinely devastating, but it is also surrounded by absolute chaos. When it is all said and done, this is basically a simple revenge story. This is about a guy who was wronged in the past and he came back to get his revenge. Where young people outsmart the monster, their surviving children in this case are actually manipulated into completely destroying their own family. We get this massive lore dump when the kids decide to hide out in the church while they're waiting for their sister, and they meet the local priest. Now, the priest fills them in on the backstory that's going on with everything. Decades ago, the ice cream man was wrongfully convicted of horrific crimes against children, when the only thing that he really wanted to do was make children happy. The town's prominent figures, who are now the parents, coerced their own children into making false statements on the stand to protect a church cover-up. Then in prison, a dying ice cream man made a deal with the necromancer, trading his soul for a chance at generational revenge against the adults that ruined his life. And you know, that is pretty tragic. But there is a way to break this curse. Priest tells the kids in order for them to break this curse with the ice cream man, they have to go to the cemetery and dig up the grave where the ice cream man is buried because he's not there. The necromancer is actually there buried because the ice cream man is running around getting his revenge on everybody. But he tells them this one crucial fact to make sure that when they're digging up the body, to make sure that they keep their eyes away or closed or shut. That way they don't look directly at the necromancer, because if you make eye contact with it, you will be cursed forever. So Jared and his sister, they follow the rules to the letter. Standing over an open grave, they blindly start hacking at not one body, but two. And there's a catch to that as well, because who said the necromancer had more than one body? It was supposed to be one down there, but they just weren't paying attention. And I get it. They were scared. Pure fear, and you were also told don't look at it because if you do, you're going to be cursed forever. And I kind of get the pun intended with that as well, and I'll explain that in 1 second, how the kids would have been cursed forever if they would have looked at what was under the hood ahead of time. But the kids hack away at these bodies and decapitate one of them. But when the dust settles, the pitch black twist is revealed. The priest was actually the necromancer in disguise. The bodies that were in the grave, and I did say two bodies because, you know, necromancer is a singular thing. There were not monsters in that grave. What was in the grave was actually Jared and Lizzie's parents. It seems as though their parents followed them to the cemetery in order to try to help them and got ambushed, buried, and then killed by their own kids. And the thing that I wanted to mention about how the kids would have been cursed if they had peeped under the hood. So, if the kids would have raised their parents' hood before they actually started chopping at the bodies, they would have known that that was their parents. And there's no way that they would have killed their parents because, you know, that's their parents and that's not what they're to do anyway. So they just would have probably tried continuing to kill the necromancer. But the reason that the curse would have kept going is because their parents needed to die for the curse, at least for them, to end. Their grandpa was the guy who prosecuted the ice cream man and got him sent to jail where he eventually died. So your dad or mom, not sure which one was his son or daughter, was one of the kids that made a false statement on the stand that got the ice cream man locked away. So your parents had to die in order for the curse to end for you. And that's the only reason that you live, because the curse on the town clearly was never meant to be cured. The ice cream man's goal was to poetically weaponize the current generation to obliterate the adults that caused him pain decades ago. With his vengeful spirit now satisfied, he calmly just steps out of the shadows, jumps back in his van, and drives out of town, but not before he tips his hat to the kids and basically tells them thank you for handling that for him. But when he leaves, the kids that are mind controlled, they are still possessed and they leave with him. So I guess they're going to be possessed forever. So what did you guys think about that twist? Was it a stroke of dark genius, or was it Eli Roth just being mean-spirited just for the sake of shock value? Tell me your thoughts down below. And if you stay to the very end, which I didn't, there is a mid or a very end credit scene. Don't know what it is. If you guys seen it or if you look it up, let me know what it is, because I don't really have any interest in it. So you guys tell me what you think about that post-credit scene or mid-credit scene, and just let me know what you think about it. So my hot take on this is the AI generated visuals completely ruin what could have been a cult classic slasher film. And the painful irony of everything is pretty staggering. You cannot boast about delivering an unrated, studio-free practical effects, bragging about the incredible prosthetic work with the intestine jump rope and the decapitations, and then secretly use generative AI to smooth out transitions in the middle of the film. And it was done for the cartoon sequence, for those who didn't know. It is honestly incredibly lazy, and it shatters whatever grimy 100% old school aesthetic that Roth was going for. The lesson here is you cannot champion practical horror while cutting corners, especially with AI. The film, in my opinion, is a bizarre contradiction. It does have some incredibly creative kills, and it has a genuinely mean-spirited, twisted ending, but all of that gets bogged down by this terrible script. It also has an exhausting second act and clearly lazy post-production choices. It wasn't even like this great story. It was just chaotic. I initially thought this might be a decent weekend watch, and I even debated giving this a 2 out of 5 stars. But honestly, because of the blatant AI use and the fact that the main kids just serve as vessels to be chased, I am going to officially drop my score a little bit more. So I am giving Eli Roth's Ice Cream Man a 3 out of 10 or a 1.5 out of 5 stars. Now you guys tell me, am I being harsh here? If you think this deserves a higher score because it is a crazy weekend watch, then go ahead and let me have it down in the comments and try to change my mind. And with all that being said, if you survived this review and you want more brutally honest horror reviews and breakdowns, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button and keep coming back to the channel. I appreciate you all for coming and watching and staying this long for this particular review, especially because Ice Cream Man honestly was a dud, and I'm sad by that because I was expecting a little bit more. I also want to apologize for my voice. I know it keeps going in and out. The allergies are kind of bothering me a little bit, but not going to let that stop me from trying to bring you guys good content. So, like I said, I'm under the weather, but I'm here. And Ice Cream Man really didn't need to be. Honestly, guys, could have been a Tubi movie. And I probably would have thought a little bit better about it, especially with the AI, because maybe they were just trying to make this Tubi movie a little bit better. So it probably would have been praised in that sense, as long as they don't go out bragging about using practical effects when they really use AI for certain things. But don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, and make sure you guys follow me on all of the socials, hype this video as well, and I will see you in the next one.